Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. I got requested to react to this scene, and when I saw it, I was actually really intrigued because it's a very extreme emotional reaction, and I thought there was a lot to learn and take away from this scene. So this is a scene from the Netflix series Beef. To be honest, I haven't quite watched it, so I don't really know exactly what's going on here, but the context is pretty obvious, and I do have a lot of thoughts about it. So let's watch the clip first, and then we'll get into it.
We thank you for Jesus. Lord Father God, we come to you. Come, Pastor Cam. We come to you just as we are. That you can take us in our brokenness and our need, and that you meet us here today, Lord. We ask for your Spirit to come and fill this place, that we might worship you joyfully with all of our hearts.
Are you hurting and broken within? Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin, Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling.
Come on, church.
Oh, come to the altar.
Wow, what an emotional scene. Can we give it up for this actor, Steven Yeun? I mean, I think it's one thing to act and to cry, but it's another thing to act and to cry, to try to act like you're not crying and then subsequently crying. I think it was an amazing job. Give this man some kind of award. But I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. What's going on here? Is there a psychological explanation? Because some people say, well, he's just having a religious moment. He's just getting in touch with God or Jesus. But of course, there's a psychological explanation. And I think that it's a very powerful psychological explanation. So let's get into what is going on, in my opinion. Having not knowing the context of what's going on. So this guy walks into a church, and it's my assumption that he's been through some stuff. It's my assumption that he doesn't think highly of himself. He probably thinks pretty lowly of himself. And that's why he's going there. And he has this moment where he's listening to the music and there's these words being sung. And what actually happens in that moment is what I call a redefinition of himself. What he sees in himself is being challenged in that moment and being redefined. And that's what's causing this intense emotional reaction. We all see ourselves in a certain way. We all have a self-identity, and through that identity, we create the narrative of our life. And where does that identity come from? Where does this narrative come from? Well, it comes from all the messages that we've been sent throughout our life. And this principle is really illustrated through the story of the ugly duckling. And this happens all the time with people. The ugly duckling started out ugly. And was he really ugly? I mean, I'm pretty sure he was cute in some kind of way, but maybe compared to the ducklings, he was ugly. So context has a huge role to play. If he was around other swan ducklings, maybe he would have been normal. Maybe he would have been even cuter. So his whole psychology would have been different. But he just so happened to be born with other ducklings, not swans. And so he thought of himself as the ugly duckling. And it was all just happenstance. And this happens all the time to us. People are born and have experienced situations that send them these messages. And with these messages, they create their self-identity and how they see themselves. And the thing about a self-identity, we don't even know that we have it sometimes. We don't even know that we think about ourselves this way. And sometimes it takes someone or something to challenge it for us to even know that we're thinking about ourselves this way. And like I said, sometimes it's just very contextual. We can start believing things that aren't necessarily true just because we were in a certain environment or just because we were around certain people that did or said certain things. And that brings us back to this scene in Beef. What I think is happening, and which is why religion is so powerful, is he is seeing himself in a different light. Like I said, I don't know the story, so I don't know if he thinks of himself as some kind of loser or some kind of worthless person or some kind of evil person. But in that moment, it seems like he is seeing himself as someone who is redeemed or valuable or maybe even awesome or wonderful. And to have that kind of message sent to you when you believe such the opposite is so powerful. And I know religion gets a bad rap, and maybe justifiably so. There have been a lot of horrendous things done in the name of religion, but one thing I feel like religion does well is this. When I was in school, we were taught that religion, it's a strength, and to use that to help clients. And this is one really good way to help people through religion. It's the redefinition of you. So when I listen to the words of that song, a lot of it is about him being loved. And a lot of times we're sent that really painful message that we are unloved or unlovable. And it's not an uncommon thing. Maybe we get rejected by a girl or a guy or a friend group. Maybe our parents didn't treat us well, or maybe they just weren't even around. And those are such powerful messages that we take and we create that identity in us. But here's the thing. If we're aware of our self-identity and the messages that we were sent and how we got to the place that we are, we can change all of that. And this goes into a little bit of philosophy, but I personally think that there is something good or something amazing or something wonderful, something valuable about each person. And if someone doesn't believe that about themselves, they are gravely mistaken. And that's part of what I do in therapy. I really challenge those beliefs, especially those negative ones that are so destructive, and we investigate how we got there. And we look at the evidence on the other side that says, no, you're not. You're not invaluable. You're valuable. You're not undesirable. You're desirable. And I believe that, like I said, all people are awesome. So you know what, guys? If there's something that's manifesting in your life and you know something's wrong, let's look at the message that we received. Let's look at how we see ourselves, because how we see ourselves could be wrong. Maybe we're believing something that's untrue. Maybe we're living out the ugly duckling story, because a lot of things change from kid to adult. We change, the context changes, our environment changes, the people around us change, and we need to adjust ourselves. Because you know what is a tragedy? A beautiful swan going around in life thinking that they're ugly. And you know what I really believe? Well, all of us are swans. And if that's the case, and if you're feeling down, maybe we can have a moment like this and we can redefine ourselves. Not only feel better, but look at ourselves in a more accurate way. And then we can go out into that world as a beautiful swan. Thanks for watching, you wonderful person.